The matter is that the reason that this perplexes me so much is because if 10 rounds were sufficient to defend someone's life and to protect people from the nefarious actions of individuals who don't care about the law, then it would be sufficient for everyone. However, apparently it's not. It's insufficient for the heroes who go out there and have a job to do. However, they go out and do those jobs in the same communities that some of you live in. They go out and confront the exact same criminals from the exact same communities, the exact same neighborhoods. We're all on the same planet here. So the fact of the matter is that if 10 rounds were sufficient, it would be sufficient for everyone. And I find it to be disturbing on a public policy level that we're saying that there should be some difference there. If they were sufficient, then it would be sufficient for everyone. Respecting the issue of the constitutionality of these measures, I admit that Justice Scalia did say that regulations would still be permitted. However, there's two issues that have been overlooked. The first issue is that in Delaware we have Article 1, Section 20 of the Delaware Constitution, which enumerates 6 specific purposes in which firearms can be used: defense of self, defense of home, defense of family, for recreational and sporting purposes, and in defense of the state. That is a cadre of rights far more detailed and specific and far-reaching than what is given in our federal Constitution. First. Second, the fact of the matter is that there was no further comment in that opinion respecting a measure that would touch upon the ability of an individual to actually defend themselves. Namely, if one were confronted in one's home or confronted out on the street by more than 2 assailants, more than 3 assailants, and the message is, you're a law-abiding citizen, 10 rounds is sufficient for you to defend your life and the life of your family.
Keep in mind that none of these measures would apply to you in your own.
However, people who do not have so-called large-capacity magazines would not be permitted to get them based upon the prohibitions on manufacture, transfer, delivery. Those are in the bill as well. And so we're cutting off the rights of future Delawareans to have access to tools that are excellent shields against these types of activities, home invasions, and I believe that it's that would not withstand constitutional scrutiny. That the notion that you are saying that in my ability to defend myself as a law-abiding citizen, that I cannot have what is reasonably bearable, a handgun that has more than 10 rounds to protect my family and myself, goes to the core of this discussion. And I think that the fact that, for example, there's no exception for CCW permit holders who have to go under a significant training regime in a classroom setting and go through a background check, and even have people within their county say, you are of sufficient character to keep and bear arms and to have one on yourself, hidden, that there's no exception for them either. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And so when we talk about the constitutionality of this measure, we have to realize that the manner of law that was addressed in Heller and McDonald were so repugnant that the court didn't even feel the need to articulate the level of scrutiny they would use. And so second of all, we need to look at these regulations and say, well, what are they trying to do? They're the next step down. They're not trying to prohibit firearms outright, but they are directly interacting with liberty interests that we all have as citizens and residents of this state and of the United States of America. And when that happens, a court will examine whether or not they are acceptable and whether or not they pass strict scrutiny. And I believe that they would be found wanting.
They have been examined. Large capacity magazine was part of the federal assault.
Whose turn is it?
I would note that that was never brought up before the court. And I would also note that the specific notion of the assault weapons ban, as it relates to the empirical requirement that you have a law which shows that it actually achieves the government purpose, that there has to be something there to connect it. It can't just be, well, there's perhaps the possibility that this might achieve the goal. There has to be some sort of evidence when we're talking about a fundamental right that's born and shown by the people who are proposing the measure. Not by us as the law-abiding citizens, but by those who are proposing the change in the law. And I haven't seen any evidence, because there's none out there, which shows that these laws would have any effect whatsoever on people who are a specific population of individuals that wish to commit harm. And we should not be hamstrung in our ability to defend ourselves against them.